My next guest is back in action. Jeremiah Wells, UFC Fight Night, April 22nd. It's right around the corner. It's Matt Semelsberger back here on the program. Matt, how are you?
Good, James. How about you, bro?
Doing awesome. A bit of familiarity here with your opponent, I would imagine, maybe a little bit, just because I know you guys both fought in CFFC. How much did you know about Jeremiah before taking this fight?
Oh, a lot about him. He was a guy that I was kind of eyeing up when I was on the regional circuit, thinking maybe I might fight him for like a CFFC title shot or something like that. But then I got the call up to the UFC. And when he got called up, it wasn't a surprise. It was like, he's a guy that I've had my eye on for a while. And I figured that at some point, like my intuition was like, we'll probably meet each other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, and here you are finally, getting it done. And by the way, shout out to CFFC and so many other regional promotions that actually do good matchmaking. Like you said, like you just see the cream rise of the crop here. And I mean, there's so many mainstays from that promotion that are in the UFC, like yourself.
Oh yeah, big time, man. CFFC is a huge one. Obviously, there's the other one, LFA. There's a bunch of them now. Seems like there's getting more and more events that are being put on that have just like really, really good fighters, man. Like you got like Anthony Pettis has got his own fighting thing.
Yeah.
Masvidal has his. Yeah, man, there's a ton of them.
I agree. Let's talk about your last fight, man. I know it was a while ago, but Jake Matthews, what a win that was. I know Matthews had a lot of momentum. You went out there, you got it done. How satisfying was that victory?
It was very satisfying, man. I'll say it's like partly satisfying, but also like not in a way. But in terms of bouncing back after the loss against Morono, it was huge for me. And just like growing as an MMA fighter, I was able to kind of mix in a little bit more of my tools than I normally do. That was kind of an adjustment I wanted to make after the Morono fight. So yeah, man, it felt really good getting the win, especially against a guy like Jake, who's super tough and he's been around the company and he's had a lot of experience in the octagon.
Let's talk about Jeremiah Wells. Like you said, you've known about him for a while. How do you feel like you match up against him here?
I think I match up very well against him, but he's a scary dude, man. He's got scary power in his hands, and he's got very, very good grappling. He comes from one of the best grappling places you could come from, whether you're talking about the U.S. or just the country, or I'm sorry, the planet as a whole. So he comes from a really, really good gym. He's got a lot of UFC guys that he's working with. So I'm expecting it to be a very tough matchup, but at the same time, man, I have full faith in my own training, my own gym. I got a bunch of stud grapplers and a bunch of stud Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu players from Crazy 88, which in the Jiu-Jitsu world, we are very well known, especially in the States. But yeah, man, we've got multiple world champions. So I've been grinding with my grappling guys at 88, getting ready to grapple if I need to. But of course, man, I love to strike. So that's what I'm going to be looking to do if I can. But yeah, dude, it's going to be a fun matchup. It's scary. I see a very, very good possibility of one of us losing consciousness. So it's got me hyped up, man. It's got me scared, but in a good way.
Yeah, no, rising to the challenge, right? Which is great. And that's, again, not underestimating the opponent, which is a good thing too. So we'll see, obviously, a really good fight here. Who are some of the names you get to work with? You mentioned some of the training partners who are, if we're doing a little roll call here, who are you getting to work with?
Well, I don't want to like put too many names out there and stuff like that, because man, I've just been grinding a lot with my coaches, grinding a lot with my teammates at Crazy 88. So we got a lot of up and coming guys that we're just trying to bring up and get on a higher level that, in turn is going to help me. It's going to help some of the higher level guys in the gym. So that's what's cool about Crazy 88 and where we're at with that. But it's cool, man. I've been getting to move around like the DMV area and train with some other gyms. Out of respect for my own gym, I'm not going to name drop anybody really.
For sure.
I've been grinding with a bunch of UFC, Bellator, high-level kickboxers, high-level grapplers. And that's the cool thing about like Maryland and the East Coast and really like the Mid-Atlantic, man. We just got hotspots everywhere with, really talented strikers, talented grapplers, talented MMA fighters. So I've been moving around. I've been getting a lot of different looks from a lot of different people because I feel like this fight could go anywhere. So I want to be prepared anywhere it goes.
The weight cut, fight's next Saturday. How's all that going?
Good, man. I'm big right now, though. I'm not going to lie. But in a good way, man. Like some fights, I want to be a little bit smaller going in, and then other fights I like being a little bit heavier and have a little bit bigger frame going into some other ones. So that's, I guess, a little bit of a strategy move depending on who I'm fighting. But I like to try to stay a little bit bigger nowadays, especially because like if I didn't have to cut weight, that'd be awesome. But the reality of the sport is like size advantage is a very, very, very important thing in a fight, or at least having equal size as your opponent. So I'm pretty big right now, but that won't be an issue with the weight cut, man. I've never missed weight before, and I've gotten it down to a science now. So
Excellent. Who's going to be in your corner for this fight? Are you allowed to mention that again? I don't think that's revealing too much.
um, So normally my big brother's with me. This time I will not have my big brother with me. He's gonna be back home, taking care of some things in his own life, in his own book. So I'm gonna have John Del Bruges, Sebastian Ramirez. Those are my two main coaches who are always out with me, and then I'm gonna bring along my teammate Josh Jackson, who's a professional welterweight with a record of 7-3, and he trains and lives very close to me. He came up in the Frederick County area, much like I did, and I'm being very honest, man. He's right on the brink of another win or two away from getting a call up to the UFC or someone big, man. I got a lot of faith in him, so I wanted to bring him out and let him experience what it's like in the UFC fight week because he's going to be next.
How's this fight playing out on April 22nd? I don't think this one's hitting the scorecards.
No. I kind of have this thing in me right now where I'm like, man, I gotta take some risks. I got to just open up and let my shit fly. So someone's going out. I don't know if it's gonna be me. I don't know if it's gonna be him. I've made peace with the fact that I might get slept on April 22nd, but at the same time, man, I'm gonna be coming out guns blazing, and I'm gonna be fighting smart, and I'm gonna be fighting hard.
Speaking of getting slept, what did you think of Israel Adesanya knocking out Pereira last weekend?
Dude, that was crazy. That was actually that was amazing to watch him kind of play possum against the fence there. And then it was easier to see slow motion, but just like him being so smart enough and just being calm enough to not open up and overreact to anything that Pereira was throwing. And then just like the slightest little bit of a lead hand hook, and then bang, that right hand just dropped down and finished it. But it was amazing, man. Shout out to Izzy. Props to him for everything that he faced going into that fight and then going in and finally putting a stamp on that rivalry.
I was trying to remember how many more fights you have left on your contract. What's the latest with that?
So I did, after this last one, I had one left, but UFC decided they wanted to go ahead and just do a new contract.
Oh, congratulations. So 4 fights, 6 fights? How many fights?
Just like 4.
Oh, awesome. Good for you, man. Well, what does that mean? Not everyone gets a second or third UFC contract. So, I mean, that you got to feel good that, you're a mainstay here, right? To get another contract like that.
Yeah, man. It's like, it's really cool. Like, it's a blessing, man, for sure. And it makes me feel good. But at the same time, it's like, just like part of my brain, man. I have that voice in the back of my head that's like, yeah, well, all right, they re-signed you, but that just means like the expectations and everything kind of go up a little bit. And that's just naturally how life plays out as you climb levels. But so I'm very, very stoked about it, very happy about it. But at the same time, definitely like I'm not feeling like I'm settling at all. I gotta, if anything, like keep running and keep my feet going.
See, I have the same mentality, not with fighting, but with this job, like, this could all go away at one point. So I'm always having that in the back of my head. So I can relate. Like, obviously it's much different than getting punched in the face. I'm not comparing that, but I just mean, I have the same mentality where it's like, everything can be taken away at once, so you gotta kind of have that. And, kind of, you talked about this earlier about the matchup and everything, like taking risks and stuff. Do you think the UFC appreciates that? And that's why they're giving you this contract, as well as that you're not a guy who's laying and praying and you're trying to win on points. You're going out there and really trying to make it entertaining. Do you think that's part of it?
Yeah, for sure, man. And don't get me wrong, man. Like I'm my biggest critic, and I'm definitely my own worst enemy. So it's like when I look back on fights, I'm highly critical of myself. And really, man, I'm not very impressed with myself, even as much as I've done in the UFC. And that's just like speaks to my competitive, fierce side of me. That's like knows I'm capable of so much more. So maybe that's what they appreciate. They maybe appreciate the growth, and they can see that I'm trying to grow both as an entertainer, but also as a fighter and a skilled fighter at that. So, um, kind of playing that contrast between, intensity and the stuff that gets people excited in fights, but then also being smart enough and calculated and skillful, man. That's like, I guess when you look at the highest levels of fighting, that's what you see. You get the best of both worlds. So that's what I'm trying to bring to the table. And I think, maybe the UFC realizes that I'm dead serious about that.
You mentioned really being focused on this fight and camp, and I know don't get a lot of free time, but what is that little bit of downtime looking like? You getting in any TV shows or video games or anything? What are you getting up to when you got that little bit of free time?
Yeah, man. I got a PS5, so I've
There you
been
go.
gaming it. I played that Hogwarts Legacy game, the
Oh,
Harry
cool.
Potter
Did you
one.
like it?
Yeah, it's real cool, man. Huge map, like open world, like kind of like RPG style. It's like I'm about that stuff. I play Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. But yeah, man, just playing a little bit of video games here and there, playing some tabletop games with my homies sometimes, and then TV show wise, I haven't really been watching anything new, but I rewatched this anime called Samurai Champloo
Okay.
that I love, and I've been rewatching that and just a couple of shows that are usually fighting or martial arts related, but just kind of get me into the fighting spirit.
When you say tabletop games, what type of games do you play?
Oh, bro, we got so many. We got like so there's this one game called House on Haunted Hill. So it's like you and four other people build out a haunted house in a haunted scenario. So at some point the haunt starts and then one person in the group becomes the traitor and they have to like go in another room and like read their little bit in the book and then the
Oh, no
other people.
way. That's cool.
So it's like that's one of them that we play. We play ones like civilization building games. Space battles are one of our favorite ones. It's called Twilight Imperium. It's basically like civilization building with warfare in space. So it's basically like Star Wars, if I'm
Okay.
being honest.
There you go. Hey, Matt,
We
thanks so
got
much for. Oh, sorry, go
yeah.
ahead.
I was say we got tons. I could sit here all day and tell you about all of our games, but I'll shut up for now.
Next time. Good to know, though. Good to know these things, right? So it's important. But we got to be watching your fight, man. Next Saturday, UFC Fight Night. If there's anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Yeah, man. Just thanks to Crazy 88, my teammates, all my fam and my friends, everybody on social who's been hitting me up, which I will. I've been a little bit quiet on socials, and that's usually how I am anyway. But at least as of lately, I've been like really real quiet. I've been real focused. So if anybody's been getting to me, I will get back to you as soon as I can. But thank you all for the support. I can't wait to throw down for everybody next weekend.